Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast for this week. I hope you are all doing well now that a lot of places are out of lockdown. And sorry we weren't on last week. We had a blackout in Melbourne, so we couldn't actually make it. But we're here to do the same podcast we were going to do. You're just getting it a week later with a bit more thought behind it, maybe. Who knows? So this week's topic is how you can make a difference. And I want to thank John Scollen for providing this topic because we're getting some applause on the video there, and it's well deserved. John has been, if you've been listening, John's been on a lot of the last couple ones and providing a lot of insight. So I thought I'd turn some topics over to him, and he gave me a lot of really good topics. So this is the first one that I thought was really stood out and sung to me. So I was really excited to do this. So I wanted to thank John, and John is on the call. So hello, John. How's your week been?
Yeah, good, Jess. It's just another busy week, which is not a bad thing. I know I'm alive and breathing, so that's good.
That is good. I wanted to also thank Kanika Chopra for being on the call as well. How has your week been, Kanika?
My week has been really nice, even though it's been a bit rainy. It's been really warm, which has been really good. I've been doing a bunch of outdoor work, just some springtime garden cleanup, and it's been really therapeutic.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And I do want to, we've interrupted the lovely river houseboat holiday of our CEO and Director of Learning, Grahame Gerstenberg and Danette Fenton-Menzies. So they're jumping on, even though they're having a relaxing time on the Murray. So thank you for being on the call, you two. How's it going so far?
The houseboat is awesome compared to the end of our week last week where we had a brown snake in our house.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the brown snake was also awesome. It was just being awesome in
the wrong place.
Yes, not the wrong location.
Anyway, we think it's gone outside now, so all is good.
Fingers
and we're on a houseboat, so we don't care now. Bring it home.
And look, that on today's topic, that brown snake has already made a difference in your lives.
Yes, it has.
But well, hopefully we'll be talking about a few more positive experiences and differences we can make. So as always, we have three main questions that we'll be bouncing around off of. And I might start with John. John, because you suggested this topic, I wanted to ask you, what sort of difference can you make?
I guess I was thinking about this last night. Not all of us are going to be a Michelle Obama or Albert Einstein, Helen Keller, Al Capone. We're not going to be a huge figure in the world or across countries or across years. And I guess this topic came out of the Drew Dudley TED Talk, where he did something and had an impact on people, and he didn't even remember that he didn't even remember the activity, didn't remember anything about it, but he knew from their telling him that he had an impact. So you don't have to do big acts. Simple acts can have a major impact on people, and it's something small that you can do. It's something that you don't have to give a lot of thought to, and I think we can all make a difference. We can all make a difference. It's just engaging with other people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I that's amazing, like that you can even have an impact without even realizing it. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I might throw this to Kanika. Kanika, what sort of difference can you make?
I think for me, it's in the small stuff and the details, and just being like really nice to everyone you meet, and not making assumptions about people when you meet them. It's hard not to do that sometimes, but I think making a deliberate effort to not judge people and listen to them, asking someone how they are sometimes can be really good. And I think it's just like little acts of like niceness and kindness that I think is so important. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. I guess like if I had to give you an example, it would be when we have neighbors that are parents and have two kids that seem under the age of 10. And since we've lived here, both of them have injured themselves physically pretty badly in the lockdown. And every time I see them, I always go like, if you need us to pick up groceries, let us know. Or if you need something, let us know. And I know that's like not heaps and they may never take us up on it, but I think it's just important to let them know that like we can help if they do actually need someone to help. But yeah, that's just like little things like that for me, I think make a difference.
Yeah, and were you going to say something there, John?
Yeah, I remember there was a radio announcer here in Canberra that was retiring or moving off somewhere else, and someone, one of the radio people came in and sat, and they were just talking about the impact that this announcer has had on them. And this guy was saying when his dad was really sick, everyone had asked, "How's your dad? How's your dad? How's your dad?" And the radio announcer was doing the same thing. And at some point, the radio announcer said to him, "And how are you?" And that really struck a chord with him, that someone actually cared enough, not just about his family and about the bad situation, but actually stepped away and went, "Well, yeah, how are you in this?" And that made a difference in him. The radio announcer, didn't think anything of it at the time, he said. It was just a natural thing to do. But, it's those things that make a difference, those kindnesses.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing already that we've had two completely different answers. So there's a lot out there for people. I might throw this to Danette now. What sort of difference can you make?
So I think one of the ways all of us can make a difference is to bring our best self to the world. So bring our gifts and talents. Like Kanika has More Than Melanin, which is created, which has helped all of these, writers, poets, etc., to get some exposure in a world that maybe they wouldn't have had that opportunity to do. I love the idea of random acts of kindness. So just doing stuff for people you don't know. And I think a big one at the moment, because a lot of people are struggling, is if you're talking to someone, being present with them and picking up where their struggles may be, and maybe just doing something that they don't expect. You're not doing it to get anything back. You just do, just some little simple thing, whether it's writing a handwritten note or something, or just saying, you've got this, I believe in you, sending them a book, whatever it is, to support others, to be able to know that, they matter, that people care about them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jess. Great question.
No, that's right. Great answer. I'm starting to notice a trend as well, but it's nice. It's good to see. It's a similar thing that I also wanted to talk about. Grahame, what sort of difference can you make?
I was thinking before about the saying, leave people better than you find them. And one interpretation of that sort of leads us to feel we need to be active in doing something for somebody else that's going to have a benefit for them. And yeah, again, this can be relatively small stuff. This can be the little kindnesses. It can just be acknowledging that somebody else exists on the planet as a human being and connecting with them at that level. The thing with leave people better than you find them, I guess the issue I have with that is you won't know necessarily whether the person is better or not. So it's for me, it's not necessarily having an intention that I want to consciously do something for someone else to leave them better than I found them every time I meet them or interact with them. But maybe just wrapping up everything that everyone else has already said, it's being present. And I think the kindness thing really has to start with ourselves. So I think, when we practice self-kindness, self-compassion first, and then, as Danette said, show up as the best version of yourself you can, wherever you are.
Yeah, that's perfect. And Grahame, that's actually reminded me about someone that you two always talk about as being someone that's just really, really present. And I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on what this is like. So Dr. James Rouse, I know that you two always talk about how he has a sort of almost supernatural level of presence. So I was just wondering what that's like and what sort of things you notice about that.
So my recollection of meeting Dr. James was at a Robin Sharma event 6-7 years ago, and James spoke on stage, and then at the end of his presentation there was a lunch break, and there were a lot of people. There were about 95 people in the room. Most of them wanted to meet James and talk to him. And because I don't like queues, so I wasn't in the queue to meet James, even though I desperately wanted to meet him. But just watching the other people, and every conversation that James had with someone in the room was as if they were the only person in the room. So his focus it was just laser-like. And when you do have an opportunity to have a conversation with him, you genuinely do feel that you're the only other person on the planet in that moment. And it's incredibly powerful and hugely validating for us. I mean, that's probably a really good example of how you can make somebody better than when you found them. Just by giving them that much. It's such a generous thing to do.
John, were you going to say something?
No, I think you're right. I think giving of your time is a big part. That we all claim to be time poor and can't do things. Whether we are or aren't, worry about that is another one. But to give of your time is extremely important to people.
Yeah. I reckon it's one of the most important things because, as you said, John, everyone seems to be time poor, and it's like to actually give a person your full attention is an extraordinary gift, because you create a safe space for them to shine, or just to be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm not doing so good. I was in the queue, so I went and spoke to James. He was, as Grahame said, laser-like. But the thing I loved about him is you could feel his heart was wide open. So, when you meet people for the first time, they can often be guarded and it feels like they've sort of got masks. He had no masks. He was a massive hugger and still is a massive hugger. And his heart was wide open. So he was just there to serve, to make the world a better place and be kind and compassionate. So, such a great example of someone who just practices daily. And he's human, so he admits that on his videos too, which I also love.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's something that we can probably all use, because I think it ties in a lot of what everybody was kind of talking about. And even I'm sure Dr. James doesn't even fully know the impact that has had. It's like what John was saying, it's one of those things that can really affect people in one way, and it may not be a completely obvious reciprocal thing, but it's amazing. I just wanted to talk about two different examples that I have experienced or listened to or seen recently. So I think what sort of difference you can make can be at a big level or a small level. And at a small level, we have been trying to make more friends with more of our neighbors, especially in houses that kind of look share housey like us, that live near us, because why not have more close friends? And that's actually become really nice. We swapped some veggies, and then they made us some bread, which we were not expecting at all. But it's nice. Now we have a little relationship with people in our street. And that was pretty simple. All we had was just all this extra veggies that we were growing and weren't going to use. So that was nice. And then also on a bigger scale, I was listening to I don't know if you guys know the book Freakonomics. But it's this book from the 90s, but they have a podcast as well. And they were interviewing an academic, Professor Yun Ang, who didn't like how corruption was documented in the world. Like she thought it didn't make sense, and it sort of helped some countries and didn't help others. And so she just went out and invented her own one, and it created a lot of controversy and because it had some findings. But I thought she had a really nice quote about it, and I just thought I'd read that now, which is, the reason that I'm pushing back against these big issues is that I don't want to regret my choice being an academic. I don't want to dedicate my life to doing this and then realizing that all of the time I'm just trying to please a convention or please a norm, and I don't want to waste my life in this way. And so I realized that when I speak certain truths, it will get some people really angry with me. But I thought that's powerful, because sometimes even when you're making a difference, it can be hard and it can hurt, but it can also be the right thing if you want to be someone that, if you make a certain choice and you want to live at a certain way, then that's also something that can happen. And again, she just did this herself. She was like, I didn't like this, so I'm just going to make it. So I thought that was kind of cool. All right, so I might jump into our second question here, which is, what stops us from making a difference? And I might start with Grahame this time. What are some things that might stand in the way of people from making a difference?
Oh, it's a pretty short list. How much time have we got? I think probably the more common ones nowadays are ego, and ego is comes from fear anyway. So I think often the things that prevent us or hinder us from making a difference are, there's a fear behind it. Whether it's a fear of being vulnerable, whether it's a fear of just acknowledging somebody else's presence and giving them some of our precious time. As John was pointing out, we all think we're time poor. Well, maybe not all of us, but so for me, I think ego is probably the bigger one. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I feel like that is a really good one. I might throw just while you're off mute, Danette, I might throw you the same question. What stops us from making a difference?
I agree with Grahame about the fear. I think sometimes people haven't been shown either, so they may not have had that role model. They may not believe in themselves and the impact they can have. So they've got that voice in their head that sort of says, you know, who are you to do this? You know, what if they reject you? That sort of thing. And sometimes people equate making a difference with having to, yeah, it costs money or it costs them something. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to cost anything. It can be as simple as, hello, how are you doing? But they don't think that way. And you know, they might want to make the grand gesture. The other one I was thinking with that beautiful quote you just shared, Jeremy, is that she looked to sort of way down into the future and went, what's the impact I want to have? And then came backwards. I think sometimes the being busy makes people really short-term focused, which means they don't then think about, is this who I want to show up as, you know, and be in the future? So I really love that quote. It was awesome.
Cool. Yeah,
Thank
yeah. No, that I mean, these are really good answers. It's also not anything that I had written down as well. So once again, learning a lot. I love when this happens. Kanika, I might throw the same question to you. What stops us from making a difference?
I would say sometimes, just to encapsulate what Danette said about just like rejection and stuff, I think there's a level of social anxiety for people to just like interact with strangers and interact with other people. Also, to piggyback a little bit more off of what Nettie said, that sometimes people just don't know how to be there for other people, or how to be kind to other people, or how to kind of like do little things for other people. There's just like, I think like a standard. I feel like I've experienced that just like living in share houses and stuff in the past, where like for me, doing something is like the decent thing to do. Like, or like if I'm going to someone's house and like I'm spending time there, I will always like take something. It's like the right thing to do. It's just like I don't know whether it's a hospitality culture that comes with being Indian or what. But you just like have to treat everybody really nicely, especially if someone's visiting your house, especially if you're going to someone's house. But these are all things that are like kind of ingrained in me. Like even growing up, if we had someone like come to the door, whether it was like someone to drop off our mail or whatever, we would always be like, do you want a glass of water? Can we get you like something to drink? It doesn't matter who it is. There's just like a certain standard of decency and hospitality that I've been like raised to show people no matter what. So I guess, and not everybody has that, is what I've realized. And sometimes I find myself getting annoyed and I'm just like, this is like basic like stuff you have to do. But I realize that not everybody's had the same sort of upbringing as me, same sort of mentality as me. But I also feel socially anxious sometimes, where I'm just like, I know this would be like the right thing to do, or this is like the kind thing to do, but I sometimes won't know how to do it or how to approach it. I guess it also depends on the person that I'm trying to do it with. Like the person also has to be receptive of kindness and receptive to people being there for them. So I think it's very variable, and I think it's a combination of all these things, really, at least according to me.
Yeah, and I think I also had that sort of social anxiety, fear of rejection kind of thing as well. But yeah, so I totally agree with that. John, wrap this one up for us. What stops us from making a difference?
For me, I think it's the thought that we've got to do something big to make a difference, that we've got to be a Mandela or a Winston Churchill or Elvis Presley or, a Rosa Parks type of person that makes a huge statement. And we don't. That's the thing. I mean, you know, the fact that you're talking about going and meeting your neighbours, you don't know the impact that you've had on your neighbours just by doing that. And the fact that, you know, you're giving them some vegetables, they bring back some bread, and you go, okay, I wasn't expecting that. You've had an impact. You've made a difference. And I don't think you probably recognise that. And big, small, doesn't matter. To make a difference, you've just got to do something. So, you know, and I think it's also that fear that if I don't have that talent, if I'm not a very good orator, therefore I can't go out and speak. If I don't have a huge talent, therefore I can't make a difference. And that's wrong. So
Can I add to Kanika's too that, yeah, because of all of the disruption, I think some people just have really low resilience at the moment. And so their ability to be generous is really low because they haven't sort of been looked after them, like they haven't looked after themselves as well. So I think sometimes people want to do it, but, you know, whether it's anxiety, whether they've got a mental health issue, whether it's like super low resilience, and really what they need is for someone to be kind to them first to sort of help them see the difference it can have.
it's that mentality of pay it forward.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's that do unto others as you'd have them do to you. You know, those sort of cliche type things, but to me, I think they're very true.
I totally agree.
Yeah, that's there you go.
Sorry. I just also think there's like a kindness in allowing people to feel how they feel. Like if you talk to someone and they're feeling shit, sorry, they should be able to say it without, or they're feeling horrible, or they're feeling overwhelmed. Like if it's a negative feeling, we need to be more comfortable as the people acknowledging that people have difficult feelings and people do have bad days. And there needs to be like a leniency and kindness with that, because like it's like also so jarring when you ask someone how they are and like they say they're having an awful day or something really bad is happening, or they're just like not feeling good. We often tend to like get like really scared of these negative emotions, and we tend to get really like, do I have to fix it? What do I have to do? And I think more often than not, you can just be like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do, or just like ask them what you can do. But I think a kindness to people is also us getting used to the fact that human emotion is like on a spectrum, and we're not always going to be happy. And happiness shouldn't be kind of an end goal. Like anything, it'll come, like all things, it's kind of just like a spectrum and a process. And some days we will feel bad, and some days when you ask someone how they're feeling, they will feel bad, and we should give them the space and the leniency to feel however they want to feel. And I think, I know you can't do this with strangers and stuff, but you can do this with your family, you can do this with friends, you can do this with people that you do know and can like sort of exchange these kind of emotions and sentiments with. And I don't think we should be caught off guard by it. And that's about it, I guess.
100% agree.
Yeah, totally. So I did just get a notification. Unfortunately, I'm just using my Zoom that we have 10 minutes left. So just FYI, everybody. Thank you all for your answers. And we'll just jump into our final question now, which is, what are some great ways to make a difference? And this is for either ourselves or others. But I might start with you, John. What are some great ways to make a difference?
Well, I've only got 3 short points on this, so I can be quick. But to me, it's be yourself, be genuine, and give. And when you're giving, you give from the heart.
That's amazing. I think that encapsulates a lot of what we've been talking about as well. So thank you for that, John. That's awesome. Kanika, what are some great ways to make a difference?
I think Grahame or Nettie said this earlier in the podcast, where like you have to be kind to yourself first. Celebrate your little wins, celebrate things that you've done that have been hard for you, acknowledge things that you've done that have been hard for you. And I think you can carry this forward. If you treat yourself with this leniency and this like kindness, it'll come more naturally and be easier to do with other people as well, I think. And I think an example of that was this week I took a driving lesson, and it was really, really scary and intimidating for me to do. But I was really proud of myself after, like, all day. I was just like, I can't believe I did that. I'm so proud of myself. And I got myself McDonald's as a treat. So
Winning.
Good choice.
Well done. Well done.
Yes, that was a well done. Congratulations and good reward. All right, I might throw this to Danette. What are some great ways you can make a difference?
Going back to what Kanika said, first of all, look after yourself. And then I think just notice what's going on for others. So be present. And if you've got a choice, be generous, be kind, be compassionate with others. And it can be as simple as just smiling so that someone knows that you care, even if it's a random stranger, or paying it forward, like John said. So I love the concept of pay it forward. So when someone does something good for you, or you do something good for someone else, that rather than paying you back, they pay it forward. So it makes the world a much better place. Thanks, Jess. Great question.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you for that. I think it's so nice hearing all these answers, I have to say. And Graham, what are some great ways to make a difference?
I think the guys covered most of it.
Hey, Tom, we've run out of time anyway, Graham, so that's good.
Yeah, thanks for giving me of your time so generously. I think, just wrapping it all up, the practicing self-compassion, self-kindness for building your resilience. So, Kanika was talking before about being able to empathize with somebody else who's not necessarily in a good place. And that sort of touches on John's point about connecting with others from the heart, because that's what we really need to do. And empathy, for me anyway, is such a strong connection between head and heart. And because it takes a lot of energy to be genuinely empathetic with people, if we don't have a lot of energy or resilience, it's almost impossible to do it. I think something came to mind a minute ago about another thing that James Rouse said, and it's gone again, so we won't use that one. I think just remembering that the opportunity to be of service to another human being is one of the greatest gifts that we have ever been given as human beings. That's it. So just remember that we actually are all here to be of service. And and the other thing was, give yourself permission to get it wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's a really good one as well, especially if you're not sure how to make a difference, then you might get it wrong, but that's okay. If you give it a go, I think you're totally right. And the only thing that I wanted to add to that is, if you want to make a difference, it doesn't have to be something that you do every day. If you're struggling with it, you can just do something once and just give that a go, because that's still going to have an effect. So there's no pressure to do it all the time. Hopefully that'll kickstart something, but if it doesn't, that's totally fine as well, I think. Well, I wanted to thank everyone so much for this podcast. It's been really good. I've learned so much. My notes are totally different from what I'd written down that everyone else has said. So once again, I've learned so much. I wanted to give everyone just a quick opportunity to wrap up with any final thoughts. And Graham, we'll let you go last, that in case you can remember that James Rouse thing. Where pressure's on. You've got 4 minutes, but I might start with Kanika with this one. Any final thoughts you've got on how you can make a difference?
I guess, just be nice. Try and pay attention to what kind of comes to you naturally as well in terms of kindness, because not everybody expresses love and how they feel in the same way as others. So yeah, just pay attention to people around you, because you might not even know someone's being kind just because you don't interpret kindness in the same way they maybe do. And when you're doing it to someone else as well and you're not sure if they're getting it, let them know. Communication is key.
Yeah, absolutely. I might throw to Danette. Any ways that how you can make a difference? Is there?
Yeah, I think the old adage, you need to fuel yourself first in order to fuel others. And like Kanika said, that communication, but I think giving without any expectation. So when we're really generous, you just give and, just trust that that's the right thing to do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
John, first of all, thanks so much for suggesting this topic. It's been awesome. Any final thoughts on how you can make a difference?
I like Kanika's point about do what comes naturally. So you don't have to go out and change the world. That's not what it's about. It's about engaging, where you're comfortable and what comes naturally for you. Just engage.
Awesome. And Grahame, the pressure's on. Did it come to you or not? What are your final thoughts on how you can make a difference?
Thanks, Jess, for not putting any pressure on me at all. The thing that James said, no, but something else that he said a couple of years ago sort of sprang to mind, and that was looking at others with soft eyes. But he also actually, just going back to the whole self-compassion, self-kindness thing, is when you look at yourself in the mirror, look at yourself with soft eyes. And for me, the other word that came to mind, which is a little bit weird, but anyway, was unclench. Because I think at the moment, because of the pandemic and everything that's going on, so many of us are existing and operating in a really clenched way. There's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty and nervousness and stress and everything else. And so for me, the idea of just letting go and relaxing into doing something for someone else, whether it's going to work or not, doesn't matter. If your intention is good and you're doing it because you want to be of service to somebody else, that's where you start.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. This has been an amazing podcast. We've snuck in just under the time. So I want to thank you all for these amazing answers and stuff. And as always, you can listen to this every week. And next week, we'll actually have a guest. But I just want to thank everybody. And once again, I just want to thank John for these awesome ideas. But I wanted to thank Kanika for jumping on. I want to thank the Danette and Grahame for doing this while you're out on a relaxing houseboat. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Jess.
Thank you, Kanika and
Thanks,
John,
John.
too.
Kanika. Thank you.
Have a great
Cool.
weekend.